Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending tonight's business meeting of the Lower Paxton Board of Supervisors. So in typical fashion, I will provide a brief summary of tonight's board agenda. Following public comment, the board will entertain a general presentation of a donation from American Legion Post 272 to the Lower Paxton Township Historical Commission. Under old business, the board will consider Ordinance 18-7, regulating the use of consumer and display fireworks, consistent with the Commonwealth's new fireworks laws. The board will then consider the amendment and restated management agreement with Lower Paxton Township Authority, adding stormwater operations and additional township administrative employees for sanitary sewer operations. This agreement has already been approved by the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Under new business, the board will consider a quitclaim deed, transferring right, title, and interest of all public storm sewer facilities to the Lower Paxton Township Authority. The board will then consider an amendment to Subdivision Plan 17-6 for the Faith United Presbyterian Church, providing an additional 15 feet of right-of-way unintentionally omitted from the plan. Finally, before acting on improvement guarantees and payment of bills, the board will consider Resolution 18-53, accepting the dedication of certain roadways within the Wilshire Estates Development Phase 1. And at this point, members of the board are seated and prepared to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. I'd like to please ask everyone to stand and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Judd. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think it is appropriate, since we have just recited the pledge, that we take a moment to reflect on the passing this past week of former President George H.W. Bush. And before we proceed with our business this evening, we'd like to observe a moment of silence in honor and memory of President George H.W. Bush. Thank you. And with that, we will proceed to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the minutes of June 19, 2018, and the minutes of July 3rd, 2018 as prepared and circulated.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Before we proceed to public comment, I would like to announce that prior to this meeting, the Board of Supervisors met in executive session. We received information from the township manager. We also discussed some personnel issues. And with that, we will open the floor for public comment. And I see, first of all, we have presentation from the American Legion. Gentlemen? This is going to, Polly is going to receive the presentation on behalf of the historic, no. All right. Then what are we doing here, Polly?
I just want to take a minute and thank the Lower Paxton community and the wonderful people in it, because I'm going to tell you, we started the Lower Paxton, as you know, Community Foundation. And just got a lot of work to it, but we want to have fun. And a year from now, we're doing a Christkindl Market. For those who don't know what that is, that's an outside Christmas market, started in the 1400s in Germany. They're all over the country and they're amazing. So we decided not that long ago that we were going to do a preview of one this year, a very small one, so that the people could find out what it's all about and maybe get an interest in it. I am shocked at how many people knew what it was. We have already had a meeting of people through social media who are helping us plan the whole thing. So we decided we wanted to do a preview of it, just to give the people an idea. So we got a hold of the Lingelstown Area Civic Association, and every year they have their wonderful tree lighting at the square in Lingelstown. So we asked them if we could come and do it there, and they were great, they said yes. And so then, now we have a name, we have a place, we have no money, nothing, no decoration, we have no idea how we're gonna do it, but we were gonna do it. So, I got on social media, and I asked, all the wonderful people of Lower Pax if anybody had any greens or decorations from past years they wanted to get rid of. Call me, I'll come to their house and pick them up. Holy cow, we filled our garage, it was amazing what we got from the community. Then I went to, Schmidt's Sausage, because it's a German. He gave us 40 pounds of German sausage for our event to give away free.
Wow.
Then I went to the Philly pretzel factory. They gave us a donation of pretzels. Went to Hornens Hardware. They gave us a generator to get it all going. So we had to start there. So it all came together, and I want to show you what we did. Here we are in Lingelstown. Of course, Lingelstown gets a great turnout anyway. And then we started hitting the airway. I think we had, what, 500 people there, guys? It was huge. Look at the turnout. There was a mist. That's Stefan Kowalski, and of course, Marilyn Darling, dressed as the Germans. And behind them is our tents. We had 2 of them up. St. Thomas Roasters gave us merchandise to put in there to sell. Janet Creason's daughter, there she is, so talented. She was painting ornaments. We sold them for $10. She sold out of them and gave all the money to the foundation. That's Janice with that mother behind her. Here is Robin and her husband, who spent hours cutting up the meat, as you can see.
Did you eat
They
any?
sent it in there.
I ate nothing. I saw sausage in my sleep.
I bet you did. It was amazing, the turnout. Anybody who said to me, hey, if I can ever give you a hand, let me know, I called them. And we had more volunteers, didn't we, than we could fit in those tents. All look who stopped by. There's Chris and Robin, and that's Billy Hawk, Bill Hawk's wife. All these helpers. Look at that. And there we go.
Trouble.
Yeah, big trouble.
And of course, the wonderful tree of Lingelstown. And it was a fun, fun night. We got rid of 40 pounds. The man said he'd give me 50 pretzels, so I bought another tray of the little ones, 196 of them. And when Janice went to pick them up, he gave her a box of 50 of the big hot pretzels, not the little ones. So we gave away the 196, and then we ended up cutting up the others. And I'll tell you, nothing was left. We had apple cider, the whole bit, and it was fun. So next year is going to be amazing. So mark your calendar. And I just want to tell everybody, thank you, because this community is amazing when it comes to the people.
Well, thank you for organizing it, Polly. Thank you for organizing.
Oh, I just want
Yeah.
there's
Polly,
4 of us, so 4 of us
can-
did the 2 events.
Can I ask, what do you, what do you envision this for next year? Like this location, how big? I know it's early.
It's early, we've only had 1 meeting. Nothing's decided, but with the conversation, they would kind of like to hold it in Lingelstown because of the ambiance of the old homes and the street lights and all of that. But we're still working on it. It's going to be big, and I talked to Schmidt's today when we took back the container, and I think he's going to be up to set up a big tent selling the sausage. It's going to be like a
Well,
big street.
when I lived in Bethlehem for a while, they have, I don't know if you know, they have, I don't know if they still have one, but they have a super one. It's a great way. There's a lot of things to do in the summertime, and then it's a challenge to find community events to do in the wintertime. They they did massive tents back when I was there, and they heat them and stuff like that,
Right.
which I know we're probably not there yet.
No, not
But
yet, we're gonna be there.
but just for to get people out in the summertime, I think it's a great idea, and yeah.
And we've got so many ideas and no money again, so we're gonna work on this. We, by the way, took in $127 in donations that night.
Good.
That's a very, very good start. And Robin, thank you. I bet your hands still smell.
I'm okay.
Oh, good.
Everything went in the wash when I went home. So are you a 501c3 yet, Polly?
Not yet. It's
Okay,
to come.
okay. So then people will be able to donate. They can donate now, but for a tax deduction,
Yes.
yeah.
Any other questions? Please come.
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Polly.
Mr. Stambaugh, I understand that you would like to make a presentation to the Lower Paxton Township Historical Commission. Mr. Murphy?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Stambaugh. I'm the commander of the Englishtown American Legion. I represent 1,500 members of our Legion family. Certainly thank you for this opportunity. We have a check for $1,000 to the Lower Paxton Community Foundation for the monument,
Wow.
for the air crew that perished on the mountain.
You might have to, is
Yes.
that microphone on?
Ken, I think your microphone is not on.
I just want people
So
on TV to hear what you said.
if you would repeat what the check is for so the folks at home can hear you.
Rewind.
Rewind.
My name's Ken Stambaugh. I'm the commander of the Lingelstown American Legion. I represent the 1,500 members of our Legion. And we're here tonight to donate $1,000 for the monument that's going at Heroes Grove in recognition of the 3 service members that died in the aircraft crash. That we definitely thank these gentlemen here that did the research and recognizing the service members that died in our township. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to update the board for those that aren't aware of the total, what this is. This happened on Sunday, April 22nd, 1951. 3 men were flying from Ohio to Delaware, and their radio was not working, and they became lost over the Harrisburg area. They came down below the cloud cover over Lower Paxton Township around Lingelstown. They did not see Blue Mountain because of the fog, and they made a left-hand turn into the mountain at about 500 feet. And the plane was destroyed, and of course they were killed instantly. These 3 men were all veterans of World War II, and there has not been a memorial for them. When 2 of our commission members made the presentation back in May, David Doyle, who's behind me on this side, and Bob Thomas did the research, and they actually went up to the crash site and found parts of the bomber that crashed. Dave sent a letter to Ohio. Ohio flew a flag over their capital on the anniversary of the crash and sent us that flag so we can have it when the day comes we have a museum. We felt it was important that these men receive a memorial in our township. They're the only 3 active duty servicemen to ever die on duty in Lower Paxton Township. And we are now going to have a memorial, and it's going to be right, this is Heroes Grove. You'll see on the map a red circle down there. That's approximately where the monument's going to be. It's going to be on the township's property as far as parks and recreation. It's not actually going to be in Heroes Grove, but it's going to aim toward the mountain. And it will be similar to those plaques that you see throughout Lingelstown, and it will tell the story of the crash, and will remember the men, and let future generations know what happened here in Lower Paxton Township. This we hope to be just one of many of these memorials that we'll be able to put around the township in future years. This morning, R.J. Harris of WHP 580 agreed to let us have our memorial during his celebration on May 4th. This afternoon, Congressman Perry said that he would be the MC for that memorial. So it is coming together. And thanks very much to to the Lingelstown Legion for stepping forward. They were our first major presentation, and they stepped forward with a donation to cover all the costs. So we really appreciate that. So thank you very much. I wanted to keep you up to date. And one last word, remember Thursday, 6 p.m., the story of the Lower Paxton Lingelstown trolley system. And it's going to be given by Don Goss, one of our members, whose grandfather was working on the trolleys. So it will be a very interesting presentation. Thank you.
Did we mention their names, the men who perished? Do you have their names?
We didn't this time. It was Lieutenant William Fillon, and Corporal Thomas E. Wilcox, and Technical Sergeant Robert W. Holman. One thing about these three men, that plane they were flying was a B-26, was also known as an A-26, and its primary duty was to tow a target for anti-aircraft practice. It was not what you would call one of the safest jobs in the service. Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't have a question, Joe, but I wanted to thank you for representing Lower Paxton Township Historical Commission tomorrow at Colonial Park Rotary. I saw it in the newsletter.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And they'll
should
be
be
getting the
speaking.
full presentation tomorrow.
Okay.
Right. And I look forward to that tomorrow, Joe.
Yes.
I have a question. With the three gentlemen identified being from Ohio, have we as the Historical Commission made any contact with those families? And I knew Dave would have already done this, but I
He
thought
has the answers.
I've been researching their genealogy, and I've been hitting walls, but I've broken it down that what I thought was possibly their grandchildren, not their grandchildren, but relatives of,
Sure.
I guess it'd be nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews. And now I'm trying to find that even closer where I can reach out to them so that we can invite them back.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, the Lieutenant Fallon, his family, it's a very sad situation. He died when he was approximately 27 years old. He had a 5-year-old son, and he had a 8-week-year-old daughter. And I had thought that I'd located the daughter, because unfortunately the son died when he was 27 years old in a freak accident. And but I thought that I found the daughter, and I didn't get any response back from my correspondence. So we're still trying to work that, because we would love to have them join us. I think it's May 4th.
But thank you for that. I mean, that's a monumental task for that
Even if-
outreach, so thank you very much for attempting to do that. That would be very, very nice if we could accomplish that goal.
And if you find them later, we'll have another ceremony. You know, if that, do you have a expertise in these kinds of searches, or maybe someone out there could help? Or you?
We're always looking for help. Joe and I were just talking earlier. I'm going to be contacting. I'm going to send a letter out, or an email out tonight to the Heritage Foundation in Carlisle, because as we research, I even want information on the plane, and we have the serial numbers for the plane. But the weird thing is when I contacted, the Air Force has a division that's just works with history, and they had a what's it called, the old
Archives?
yeah, but the films, the
Oh, the microfiche.
they had
Microfiche?
everything on microfiche, and they put it back on a PDF. So I spent several hours going through these PDF, and there's 3 plane serial numbers that are missing, and ours is one of them.
Oh, wow.
And when I asked, they said that it could have overlapped when they were filming it, but I was hoping that possibly they would know something more out at the Heritage. Plus, we're trying to locate. We have the picture of the lieutenant that we could put on our monument, but I would like to see if we can find something that we can
other
get the
two,
pictures of the other 2 servicemen.
Great.
Thank you, David. I knew you would have already started that process. Great job.
The Patriot did not save any of the photographs that were taken back. In fact, they have nothing before 1980.
Right.
And so we have to go to other sources. We've been with the state archives, we've been with the state library, and now Dave's going out to Heritage. And I have a nephew who works in the Pentagon, and he's researching it for us. But we're finding very little information on the plane because it had switched from the Air Force to the Air National Guard in Ohio. And so we really have to rely on Ohio, who I think told us they lost some records. So we're still working on it, but we do have a lot of information. We have found the plane, the accident mentioned in over 60 newspapers on newspaper.com across the country, but it was only mentioned one day. There was never any follow-up. Okay?
Wow, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the research.
Thank you. And Ken, thank you to the VFW, or the, excuse me, to the American Legion. I know, got to get it right. So- Any other public comment on an item not on the agenda this? Yes. One more.
Oh.
From the American Legion.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
My name's Ken Stambaugh. I'm still the commander of the American Legion. I'm here to represent our Legion, our 1,500 members. If I take over a minute, I'm talking too long. This is about the stormwater, or the rainwater fee, okay? We are a 501, and we are tax-free. You all understand service. You serve our community. Lower Paxton Townships recognizes the service of military veterans. Just look at the seal. In reading the justification for this, I see the word fairness. Okay? We do not have to pay. We are entrusted with a liquor license. We're entrusted with small games of chance licenses in recognition of our service. With comes the responsibility to do it right, and we do that. And we feel that that's out of, just the American public saying thank you. You don't have to pay these taxes. And then when I read the justification for the stormwater fee, I see fairness. And that bugs me a little bit. It's not fair to be drafted. It's not fair to have your comrade hurt and you not. So I can't describe real well what I'm thinking, but it seems like the word fairness, that we're getting around the word tax and using the word fairness to make sure the tax-free entities pay. And that just rubs me a little raw, and just letting y'all know. So that's how we feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, there's, unfortunately, we have two choices. Either the stormwater fee that applies to everyone, or a property tax hike. So those are the two choices we have before us. And at the moment, we are moving toward a stormwater fee. I don't think we've finalized everything quite yet, but we're pretty far down that path. We haven't made decisions yet relative to credits and things of that sort. That's still part of the ongoing process. So thank you for your input. That's good to know. Good to know. Any other public comment on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none. Are there any board member comments this evening?
I just have a couple. On Thursday night at 5 o'clock, we will be having 3 of our new police officers graduating from the Police Academy at Hack. A little over 6 months ago, we hired 5. 2 of them had their Act 120, and on Thursday night, the board will be attending their ceremony at 5 o'clock. I just wanted to thank the police department for their No Shave November, for Joey Allegrini's Hero Fund, and I understand you raised close to $5,000, Officer Whitmer? Okay, yeah, so thank you to all the police officers and everybody else in the township that joined the police department. The board's been busy, as I said before, we just don't sit up here on a Tuesday night. Last Tuesday, we visited the bridge on Jonestown Road, the new bridge that took 5 months to build. They did a great job on it. From there, we attended the Public Works, we viewed the Public Works building and then went out to the sewer building. On Sunday, we attended the Linglestown tree lighting. Last night, we were here for the 39 and 743 public meeting. Let me see. And then Friday night, we will be attending the tree lighting at the Friendship Center at 7 o'clock. So again, just want to let you know, we just don't come here on Tuesday nights. We are participating throughout the township. So that's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional board member comments?
She covered the travel.
What'd you say?
You covered the travel.
Yeah, you covered it was a travel log from
Yeah,
this past
we
week.
were busy, so, yeah.
Okay, with that, manager's report, Mr. Gottschall.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I only have 2 comments tonight, and one of them was to remind everyone about the tree lighting ceremony at the Friendship Center. Will be taking place Friday at 7 p.m. All are welcome to attend. This will include, music, activities, and of course a visit from Santa Claus. And also, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to comment on the fact that I, continue, as I have mentioned in a report to the board, I continue to work on my entry plan, meeting with staff, members of the community, and board members, of course. Unfortunately, my schedule to date has not left much time for attendance at meetings such as the additional boards and commissions of the township, such as the Shade Tree, Historic, or Greenway committees and commissions. But over the next few months, hopefully, my schedule will start to lighten up a bit and allow me to get to those committees, which are vastly important to the township, and just give me a chance to learn what they do and learn how the township could, more effectively and work with the commissions. So I look forward to doing that in the upcoming months.
Good luck getting the schedule to lighten up.
Exactly what I was going to say to him.
I know in the little over year I've been here, it hasn't, and I'm sure that the others who've been here much longer will say it probably hasn't ever.
It may accelerate, Mr. Gottschall.
Oh, boy. Okay, with that, we will move to old business, and we have before us proposed ordinance number 2018-07. This would create Chapter 107 of the codified ordinances regulating the use of consumer fireworks and display fireworks. And we've discussed this at a workshop. And Mr. Stein, would you like to bring us up to date, please?
Yes, this is basically the same ordinance that you saw. I think it was maybe the October workshop that we looked at it. As you know, this ordinance is modeled after the fireworks law, but does beef up to a certain extent the regulation of consumer fireworks, since the fireworks law did not do a whole lot with that, and I think the board felt it necessary to increase the regulations on that a little bit, still in spirit with the fireworks law, but to make them a little more strict, so that we don't have a lot of issues in the township when the fireworks are going off close to other homes and within residential areas. Probably before we move forward, I would conduct a public hearing, and then following that, the board may take action on the ordinance. Before us this evening for public hearing is ordinance 18-07, which would create Chapter 107 of the codified ordinances regulating the use of consumer fireworks and display fireworks. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on ordinance 18-07? Seeing no response, Mr. Chairman, it would be in order at this time to close the public hearing on ordinance 18-07, and the board may take action if it so desires.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. And we set the curfew at 10 o'clock, as I recall?
Yes, that was the issue that we had discussed at length.
And that's what has been encapsulated in this ordinance?
Correct.
Okay. With that, any questions or comments from members of the board?
Clarification. Did we make any exceptions for New Year's Eve?
I don't believe that we did, but we did put a clause in here that you could obtain a permit to do a fireworks display. But I don't know that we made any exceptions with regard to the time.
That was the issue, right? Because not only for New Year's, but I know that there was some discussion also about 4th of July, because it does not get dark till 9:30, 9:45.
Most people don't celebrate New Year's until midnight.
That's the usual.
That's a tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recall there was a fairly lengthy discussion about that, but there never seemed to be any kind of
Closure of any.
closure on it.
Do we want to amend this to put a 10 o'clock curfew, comma, except on December 31st, it's 11, or it's 12:30 or 1 o'clock or whatever?
Yeah. Well, you can't amend it tonight because it was already advertised as it is. But we could do an amendment to it whenever you would like.
Okay.
By the way, I don't know if you remember, someone was here, and I think her name is Carrie Golden. She came to visit us the night we were discussing the fireworks law, because she was actually involved in writing it at some point in time.
yes.
And so she sent me an email today with a copy of the Commonwealth Court opinion where the court reviewed this law. I think a lot of it has been stricken, the statute. But I just got it today, so I didn't get a chance to read it yet.
So maybe we should wait until
okay.
that's finalized before we make any decisions that we'd have to change.
You mean the law that legalizes the use of these aerial fireworks?
I
A
believe
large
so.
part of it might have been struck.
There are certain parts of the statute, from my understanding, that were stricken, and certain parts that were not.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea to perhaps
Table.
give you time to
Yes.
read the opinion and determine whether this will even be necessary.
Right?
Yes, I
I can
agree.
do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we withdraw the item from the agenda tonight.
And I would second that.
Would it be a withdrawal from the agenda or a tabling?
I'm going to suggest withdrawal, because I don't want to table and then have to remember to bring it back, because I'd rather give solicitor time to review and then work with Mr. Gutschall when it should be returned. That's the only reason I'm asking for a withdrawal from the agenda.
Can we do that is, I guess, my question. Or since it's been an agenda item, do we have to table?
Well, we've already kind of heard it.
We've already kind of heard it.
That's right.
'Cause we had a public hearing.
We've
Yeah.
had the public hearing. I think then,
A withdrawal is a legal step?
I think what we should do, in as much as we've had the hearing for it, take action, and I would urge the members of the board to vote no. That way it's defeated and it gives council the opportunity to review it. That way we've done our due diligence.
Well, and we probably, I'm getting the sense we're going to want to make, if we proceed with this, we will want to make the New Year's Eve exception, so we're going to have to re-advertise anyhow to do that.
Let's make it
That's
more
correct.
clean.
Okay, in which
Is that
case,
really how we gotta do it? We have to vote it? The only way to do this is to vote it down?
We've already conducted the hearing.
we already conducted it.
That's the only
why I was.
that's the only reason that
I don't get to
changed.
vote no much.
Well-
Let's do it.
Mr.
Well, that
Chairman,
depends on how he words the motion.
Yes.
Thought he already made a motion.
No.
No, you didn't.
I'm urging the members to vote no on the motion when the motion's made.
How about
And I'll make the motion.
Make said motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve ordinance 2018-07, creating Chapter 107 of the codified ordinances regulating the use of consumer fireworks and display fireworks as presented.
Mr. Chrisman has moved approval of ordinance 1807. Is there a second?
Second, even though I have my
Now would be the
reservations.
time for a discussion which we've already preceded the motion.
Are there any public comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving ordinance 1807 signify by saying aye. All opposed signify by saying nay.
No?
Nay.
Some people said no instead
Yes,
of nay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, nay.
I just wanted to see if you were listening. Okay, so the ordinance is defeated, and the solicitor will review the appellate court's ruling on it, and we will, after we learn what the courts have ruled, determine what, if anything, we need to do.
Right.
And can I just make clear how this all happened? I don't know if it's a state law. This is the first year, the summer that just passed, is the first year the state law was in effect. So we're figuring this out as we go along. You had the experience, what happened last summer, got a lot of complaints, display fireworks late at night, and people and dogs going crazy. So if it seems like we're trying to figure this out as we go along, it's because we are. So,
We are.
and then as soon as we're ready to move, then the state begins to have second thoughts. So just wanted to give it some context.
Well, and there was also the potential of some corrective legislative action too,
Right.
which did not occur before the end of the session.
Will we have to bring this back to workshop?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Well, let me retract the no and say it depends on what Steve finds from.
Okay, what is going to be
You might want to have the
stricken
discussion of the Commonwealth Court at a workshop.
at a workshop? Okay,
We have
that's
to-
why I thought maybe we should
Yeah, we have to figure
discuss
out what
that.
Commonwealth Court
Right,
has said,
okay.
and what parts were stricken and what parts were not.
Yeah, our course of action, I think, is going to be dependent upon the assessment by council.
Yeah. So, okay, with that new information, having put it into that for the moment, we also have item B under old business, action on an amended and restated management agreement with the Lower Paxton Township Authority, adding stormwater operations and adding additional township administrative employees for sanitary sewer operations, Mr. Godshall and Mr. Stein. Mr. Godshall, you're going to take the lead on this?
Sure. Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this agreement was duly approved by the Lower Paxton Township Authority, as I'd mentioned in my opening. At their meeting, it has been reviewed by the solicitor, and it is a staff recommendation to take action tonight on this agreement, merely providing the necessary professional services by township staff and resources to administer the stormwater and sanitary sewer programs with the Lower Paxton Township Authority.
And we have had numerous of discussions on this, but are there any additional questions or comments?
Straightforward.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Yes, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. I'm Tim Murphy. I live at 1524 Pine Hollow Road. And my question focuses on the section, I guess number 11 and 12, starts on the bottom of page 8 of the document that was attached to the meeting schedule online. And that specifically talks about the reimbursement by the authority of administrative costs on the part of the township. In the agenda, it says that this reflects additional township administrative employees, but I can't tell from that list which ones are additional, so I guess I'm looking for some clarification on that.
This was,
What was that under, Tim?
which
It's,
page?
Section 11, 11B.
Page 9.
Isn't it,
Top of page
wouldn't it be
9.
section 12B?
No, it's 11, it's 11B, but it's on page
11B
9.
regarding the sanitary sewer.
Yeah.
Services.
Right, 11 is the sanitary
Thank-
sewer, 12 is the
This is
stormwater
Oh, it's the
system.
stormwater, right.
If I may, as part of the stormwater, additional stormwater duties to be assigned to the authority, there will be the hiring of a clerk position within the sewer department to reflect the new billing and appropriate administrative tracking of the fee itself. So that would be an additional position.
Okay, thank you on that part. And regarding that section and also 12B for the reimbursements on for the administrative staff work on the stormwater system. In 11B, it says that for the sanitary sewer system, the authority is going to reimburse the township for 20% of their administrative costs. And in 12B, it says that the authority will reimburse the township 5% of administrative costs for the storm sewer system. So a total of 25% of the township's administrative cost, as I understand it, will be paid by the township authority, if I'm reading that correctly. My question is, in the budget for next year, is there a corresponding reduction in the cost to the township for these administrative personnel? And will that be reflected in the tax decrease for the township residents? Since we're going to pay a fee for the stormwater And that stormwater fee is going to cover 25% of the cost of administrative functions in the township.
No, just administrative functions of this program. Not all township administrative costs.
No, I don't think that's what it says. It says 20% of the township administrative fees are going to be reimbursed by the sewer authority.
Which I believe is currently what occurs.
That's what it is currently.
It's
Yeah.
currently 20%, okay.
That's what it currently, so the only addition is the 5% for the stormwater, and that's new because it's a whole new program.
Correct.
So
And-
there's
and-
no,
And there would be additional cost also for the sanitary sewer portion because of the additional staffing that we already went over.
no, it's
Administrative-
no.
The additional clerk that we're talking about is there to service the stormwater part, not the sanitary part.
Okay, then I guess it's misstated in the agenda because it says that additional township administrative employees for the sanitary sewer operations.
Yeah, that's not the sanitary. The
That's,
sanitary.
I think maybe because that's where they're housed, that's the department right now. Sewer's just assuming the stormwater responsibilities, so we don't really have an office in the township building or in the sewer building that says stormwater office, because we don't have it yet.
Well, this is a restatement of what currently exists and then adding in the new program on top of the restatement of what currently exists.
And Tim, I think you're right. When you read the agenda, it says sanitary sewer. It probably should have said stormwater.
And I think Mr. Stein
And I
already
think that would have clarified it very
Stormwater
easily.
Okay,
operations.
so that part, I understand that. So, be that as it may, we're still, the township is still paying, the township is getting reimbursed for 5% of its administrative costs by the stormwater program. And how is that being reflected in next year's budget for the township?
Well, there's an additional employee who's going to be paid from that revenue. So that additional employee's salary and related benefits and expenses are an expenditure in the township budget for next year, a new expenditure for this program, and then this money pays for that.
Well, and it's all those other employees listed there that are
Yeah.
doing work, they're for
Right.
the township, but they're now doing extra work for the stormwater, so.
Yes,
It's-
and I
There's
understand
not-
that.
there's
They're
not
all-
a-
They're all listed
But they're
there,
also
the
doing their
individuals. It's not
township.
just that one extra
But they're also
person.
doing their township responsibilities, so.
Right, and that's,
There's not a windfall of
that.
savings here.
So that comprises 75% of their costs. And the sewer authority, the township authority is paying 25% of the administrative costs for the township staff.
Only in regarding to these duties right here, stormwater and sewer, not anything else. They're calculating that 5% of what they're gonna do next year, or going forward, will be stormwater related. So they've got their
Yes.
township duties, and now they have to do this other thing.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
And my question
For
remains,
these people, not the entire administration, not the entire township.
and I understand that, it's very clearly stated who all those individuals are, all those individuals' positions are. The names aren't there, the positions are. I understand that. My question remains, how is that reflected in next year's township budget, and will it entail a tax decrease for the township residents?
No, there will not be a tax decrease because this represents an added expenditure because it's a new program.
And it's being paid for by the township authority.
It's a break even, it's neutral.
Yeah.
They're doing more work and they're getting reimbursed for the extra work that they're doing.
There's not a windfall of savings here to the township.
I know there's not savings, but the costs are being passed over to the township authority.
Well, remember, 20% of them were already passed over for a number of years now. So take that out of the equation. You're talking about 5%, right? Is that the number you're working with?
I guess, now that that's been explained, I guess that's what it amounts to.
Yeah, because the 20%'s been going on for years, so that's not new. It's the 5% that is.
Okay. So that's kind of just lost in the wash, I mean,
Not that much.
Yeah.
okay.
But they're doing they have new responsibilities that they're being reimbursed for.
Yeah, it's not providing us with a windfall of extra money,
Oh, I know it's,
regrettably. It would be
But
good
there's
if
money-
they did,
but there's money
because
being changed, the money is passing from the township authority to the township. These people are earning the same pay they would earn regardless, right?
well,
It's just
except
that
that
20% of it is paid by, 25% of it is paid by the authority now.
they get annual pay hikes as well.
Oh, I'm sure they do, and that's fine, I understand that.
So,
I'm looking at it from the standpoint of the taxpayer that we're gonna pay this additional stormwater fee, and part of that fee is being used to pay for township employees, so there should be a commensurate decrease in township expenses.
except that those employees are now going to be doing, and we're adding an employee, number one, and those employees are going to be doing work on the new program, which is being paid for by the fee. So it all balances out.
Well, I guess that's your
You're
perspective.
you're seeing a savings that isn't there.
It's not a savings, because I and my fellow taxpayers pay it regardless of who's incurring the bill. My point is, if we're gonna pay a new bill to the township authority, there should be a corresponding decrease then on the township side.
No, it doesn't work that way.
I
I mean, I wish it did
not understanding
a,
how that works, but you can't get paid for the same thing twice.
you're not paying for the same thing twice. I mean, as a property tax payer, and as somebody who is also going to pay the new stormwater fee, I wish it were a situation where the stormwater fee were relieving the township's general fund of some large amount of money that we could have a tax decrease. It does not, because by implementing an entire new program, that adds in a whole layer of new activities, duties, and responsibilities.
There are responsibilities that are currently paid for by the tax aren't being reduced. So the tax rate stays the same because the responsibilities stay the same. And they're getting hit with an additional 5% of duties they have to perform, and that's where the 5% is paying for. Their responsibilities to do their taxpayer-funded job aren't going down.
I understand
Their
that. I appreciate the fact
responsibilities
that, right.
You know what I'm saying?
They
So
have-
the taxpayer's paying for exactly the same amount of work that they were before. So the only change is the additional duties that these same people are being asked to do. They're not seeing a 5% reduction in their overall responsibilities to the taxpayer. They're still doing the same job that they were doing for the same tax rate. They're now being asked to do this other 5% more, for which the authority is reimbursing.
I would also point out that for a number of years now, the township's general fund has been spending money on stormwater issues in order to comply with federal and state regulations. That, as a result of us having to spend money on that, money didn't go to roads and other infrastructure projects, and they sort of got shortchanged. So the fact that the stormwater fee is now going to start picking up sort of those sorts of things allows us to not shortchange other parts of the obligation of the township. So,
And I asked that question previously, and you explained it the same way regarding the changing of the street sweeping and the leaf collection is now part of stormwater, and it's no longer part of public works. So several months ago, I asked the same question regarding that. Is there going to be a tax decrease? Because we're now going to pay for those two components of township work through the stormwater fee. So there should be a corresponding decrease in taxes because public works is no longer paying for those two functions. And your explanation was, no, that's going to free up money so we can pave more roads.
yeah. So there are roads that weren't paved, that needed to be paved because we had to pay for that we can now pave. So it's important that we keep up with our road paving, because otherwise down the road, we're going to end up with a very large backlog of roads that will need paved, and that'll trigger a tax hike, and then people will be very upset. So we try to make sure that every year we maintain, we repave a certain number of roads so that we don't get into a situation where we have a backlog. And we could get into a whole discussion on road paving, but we won't do that tonight. But
Well, we won't do that tonight, but I am surprised to hear you say that we haven't been keeping up on our road paving because we had to pay for street sweeping and leaf collection.
and stormwater project. There are some roads that need attention that are now going to get attention.
I think Mr. Wills said stormwater budget was $250,000 in 2008. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And last year, or the current year, it was up to 900,000. That year's could be off by a little bit, but that has gone up incrementally. So it's been taking, the money's coming from somewhere, and there were very few years back there where the tax rate went up. So that money's, it's not, as you know.
And next year, we're going to have, what is it, 1.4, 1.7 million, I believe, we're trying to collect through the stormwater fees. So that's quite a jump.
Well, it is because as a result of our agreement with the federal and state regulatory agencies, we have to go out and implement new projects that they are requiring. And I would agree with you wholeheartedly. It is a very large jump. It is an unnecessarily large expenditure in my view. And just speaking for myself, if I had to sit here and decide where I would put township money, it would not be there. It would be in other areas like roads and parks and recs and parks and rec and areas that enhance our community. But this is a federal and state mandate, an ineffective and inefficient one, to be sure. But we weren't asked to approve the regulations before they were put into effect.
Well, you know the expenses are going up first, that we don't control that. That's part of the mandate. And
I
then it's a
understand
matter of how,
And I'm not here to debate that.
well, there's no debate. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a different opinion, I think, on the necessity of having these stormwater programs.
What else are we gonna do?
Well, I think we should have them. I think we should have them.
Well, then you're
I
going,
think there's-
you're going to get them and you are going to pay for them.
But I don't think I should have to pay the same as I'm paying now for the same services, and they're also going to be paid for through the stormwater program.
You are not. You're totally misunderstanding that situation.
Well, I think I'm a brighter person than that. I think it's almost like there's a shell game here. I'm trying to figure out under which shell is the bean.
It is not a shell game, and you are not paying twice for the same service. Neither statement would be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional public comment on the issue? Okay, we have before us action on the amended and restated management agreement with the Lower Paxton Township Authority, adding stormwater operations. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move we approve the amended and restated management agreement with Lower Paxton Township Authority, adding stormwater operations and adding the additional township administrative employee for stormwater operations as presented by Mr. Gutschall and Mr. Stein.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any additional board member questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. That takes us to new business and related item, action on the quick claim deed from Lower Paxton Township to the Lower Paxton Township Authority for the storm water system. Mr. Stein, would you briefly like to explain what that is?
Yes, it's essentially a document that passes all of the infrastructure in the stormwater system, as well as easements and right-of-ways and other licenses and rights that the township currently has, over to the authority, since the authority is now going to be running the stormwater program, and they need to own the system that is going to be used, and that they're going to charge a fee for. If the authority didn't own it, it couldn't charge a fee. So that's why it's all being transferred to the authority, and this deed will accomplish that.
Okay. Any questions, comments from board members?
Will there be a formal ceremony to pass the dollar from one agency to another?
If you like, we can.
Mr. Chairman, I'll approve the quitclaim deed from Lower Paxton Township to Lower Paxton Township Authority for the stormwater system as presented by Mr. Stein.
And that is a motion.
Yes, indeed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public comment on this item?
That one's straightforward.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That takes us to subdivision and land development plans. We have action tonight on an amendment to the preliminary and final subdivision plan number 17-06 for the Faith United Presbyterian Church. This will provide for an additional 15 feet of right-of-way that was to be found in the plan or has been found in the plan? Was found in the plan. Mr. Godshall?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, was to be found in the plan. This amendment clarifies that, adding in the necessary right-of-way that was to be in the original plan. I don't know if I was told somebody from the church's law firm may be in attendance. I'm not aware.
Good.
Sir?
Please give us your name and address, and I believe the microphone is on.
Good evening. My name is Randy Shear with Hartman Associates. This plan, last summer, the Faith Presbyterian Church carved out a for-sale residential lot from their church property. This lot was located at the southeast corner of Colonial Road and Hillsdale Road. Colonial Road at that time only had, or from previous subdivision plans, only showed a 50-foot right-of-way. The township classifies Colonial Road as an arterial road, which should have had an 80-foot right-of-way. The additional 15 feet was shown incorrectly on the plan, and what this amendment will do is correct the plan.
So it is a corrective action.
Correct.
Any questions from the board on this?
How was this discovered?
It was discovered when it went for sale, and there was a title search done, and it came up by that way.
Just a question, isn't that the northeast portion of the property?
It's
Isn't
at the
it where it was the
northeast
parsonage
corner of
was
the-
to have been built and then never developed?
Correct. It's at the northeast corner of the property,
Right,
but it's at the,
northeast.
I meant to say the southeast intersection of
Oh, south, when you
Colonial
said
Road and-
southeast, I thought, no, it's northeast, the corner property. Okay,
Correct. We're both
yes, I have the right,
So the church is selling that piece of land?
Correct.
yes.
Okay.
Any additional board questions?
Are they selling it to someone that's going to put something there eventually?
Well, it's zoned residential, so I assume they're going to
Okay.
build a house.
Okay,
Originally was where they were going to put the parsonage, and then that never developed.
okay.
So it is zoned R1. Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the amendment to the preliminary final subdivision plan 2017-06 for Faith United Presbyterian Church, which provides for the additional 15 feet of right-of-way that was found to be on the plan.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll
second.
second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We now have Resolution 2018-53, authorizing the acceptance of portions of Wilshire Road, Royal Avenue, Hampton Court, Pamela Road, and Gallow Way of the Wilshire Estate Development Phase 1. Mr. Godshall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as presented there by the chairman, this recommendation has been reviewed by the township engineers and is before you this evening.
Mr. Gutschall, that is with their recommendation, correct?
Correct.
Seems pretty straightforward.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-53, which authorizes the acceptance of portions of Wilshire Road, Royal Avenue, Hampton Court, Pamela Road, and Gallow Way of the Wilshire Estate Development Phase 1 as presented by Mr. Gutschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Judd. Any additional comments? Any
Just-
public? Oh, pardon me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Robin.
No, public comment first, I'm sorry.
Seeing no public comment, Robin, did you have an
I
additional?
was going to say just in time for winter and add more miles to our roads.
Yes. Well,
Yes, indeed.
which has to be paid for.
Yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that takes us to improvement guarantees, et cetera, et cetera. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 improvement guarantees, all of which appear to be rather routine. So if there are no questions or comments, we would have a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the approval of the 4 improvement guarantees with 2 new guarantees, 1 extension and 1 reduction.
So moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to payment of bills of Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion, we pay the bills for Lower Paxton Township, Lower Paxton Township Authority, the July P-card remittance and P-card register and for the township, and the sewer July P-card remittance and P-card register.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Judd. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And do we have any additional announcements, Mr. Godshall? Anybody, any member of the board, additional announcements?
Yeah, just with the tree lighting on Friday night, and Mr. Gottschall, if I'm right about this, usually the tree lighting is out front of the Friendship Center, and I think what we're trying to do is get the residents and non-residents to come through the Friendship Center to see what we have to offer. So they're going to have you come through, and then if I'm right, Mr. Klein, they're going to be doing it on the back patio. The tree lighting will be on the back patio this year. So that way it'll give the residents and non-residents a chance to see what we do have to offer. So Jeff, is somebody going to be out there in the front to direct everybody through? Because, you know, they're so used to being out front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're going to go around to the side into the senior courtyard.
Yeah, so if they can go through, they can see what,
That way the
you know,
doors
what there
can be
is to
opened into the
offer.
gymnasium later. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
work out well.
Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
Very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there
Second.
moved and seconded? All in favor, aye. Thank you. See you next Tuesday.